I'm Emily. I'm from GoWP. Welcome to today's webinar with Lindsay Halsey from Pathfinder SEO about growing your agency by offering SEO services. I'm really excited about this webinar. I can't wait to get started. We had Lindsay on our happiness hour call last week and had a really great conversation about SEO and how some of the agency owners on that call are currently doing it. And Lindsay had so many great insights. So I can't wait to hear what she has to say today and what we can learn from her. Really quick, I just want to say a couple words about GoWP in case anyone watching isn't familiar with us. So at GoWP, we are a team that is devoted to helping agencies grow by providing exceptional outsourced WordPress services. Agencies that partner with GoWP are able to focus on the low-touch, high-value work that helps them grow because they can depend on GoWP to take care of the high-touch, low-value work that disrupts their day. So those are things like website maintenance, never-ending content at a request, and we recently launched our dedicated developer service. So if you have any questions about any of those services or what it looks like to partner with GoWP, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to answer any questions. I also want to say that creating a GoWP partner account is absolutely free and it gets you access to all sorts of resources to grow your agency. Currently in there, we have landing page templates to help you sell care plans, maintenance schedule lead magnet, landing page template to help you generate leads with that. And it all is geared toward helping you increase that recurring revenue. We also have all sorts of documentation that you can take and make your own to use with your clients and prospects. So you can create your GoWP partner account at my.gowp/register. And I'll share that link in the chat here for anyone who's interested and hasn't done that yet. So I hope you do. It's free and you can check out all those resources in the knowledge base. I also want to tell you, for those of you watching in the Zoom webinar, I want to tell you about our Facebook group. So we do have the GoWP Niche Agency Owners Facebook group, and this is a community of agency professionals who have either are already serving a niche market or would like to niche down, or generally it's really just for agency owners who are there to help each other out. We're broadcasting this webinar live in the group now, and it will be available there afterward to watch as well. So you can go check it out. And request to join if you're not already a member. And for those of you watching in the Facebook group, welcome and thank you for joining in. I see some comments there already, so thanks for watching today. A few notes regarding that. So I will be watching the chat both here in the Zoom webinar and also over in the Facebook group. So any questions, throw them out there and I will make sure to get them to Lindsay. Lindsay is also a member of the Facebook group, so if you have questions after the webinar or you're watching this as a recording, tag Lindsay and I'm sure she'd be happy to help you out. So without any further ado, let's get to why we're here today, which is Lindsay. Lindsay is the co-founder of Pathfinder SEO. She is based in Basalt, Colorado, and she's also a partner with Webshine, which is a search engine marketing agency. Lindsay enjoys teaching site owners and freelancers SEO processes that they can apply to their business to grow recurring revenue. So, hey, Lindsay, welcome.
Thanks so much, Emily, for the kind intro. And thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm really excited to share with you guys some content around how to think about growing your agency by offering SEO services. I'm going to introduce my coworker here. This is her first or maybe second webinar. But little last minute school closure. So here we are in this modern era of working with kiddos next to us. But anyways, I'm really excited to be here and I can only see the Zoom chat while we're live here. Emily can see the Facebook as well, but I'd love to hear and keep this as interactive as possible. So I'd love to hear if you're already offering SEO services, if you're not, in the chat, maybe you've tried and you've decided, or maybe you partner with others, whatever your solution is for customers around SEO, we'd love to hear about it. Throw it in the chat and we'll start to kind of call that out throughout the conversation to make sure that we're really tailoring today's content to this audience. So the first thing I would say is if you are designing and building websites for your customers, they probably ask about SEO. You hear things like, do you offer SEO services? How do I get my website found on Google? A lot of times, how do I get to be #1 on Google? Or what do you recommend for SEO? And if you've been trying to solve this in the past, you may have tried a couple different avenues. The first thing that we see a lot of people try is that they try to offer SEO services. And it's an add-on service. And sometimes they discover they didn't really have time to become an expert in a new field. Maybe they get hung up by lacking confidence in sort of communicating with your customers about SEO, just because you don't have the same level of depth of expertise in SEO as maybe you do in design and development. Or we see a lot of people feel like they're not really sure if they're providing enough value to charge, and they don't want to be one of those other SEO agencies that they've likely come across that deliver low value, high cost services. You may have taken another approach with your clients when they ask this question. You may have installed a plugin like Yoast or Rank Math or all-in-one, made a couple configurations, and then really turn things over to your clients with a few tips, like maybe a little handout about how SEO works. And then you put the ball in your client's court and say, this is really where we leave off. What ends up typically happening here is that your customer will either probably take little action or just get plain old overwhelmed by the myriad of information online about SEO. And then they may turn to another agency or partner or freelancer to help them with SEO after all, because they realize they can't really take a DIY approach. We also see businesses partner with other SEO companies, and this can be really successful if you find the right partner. But then on the flip side, sometimes you find out that other SEO agency really didn't deliver. You might watch as another SEO agency sort of starts to offer more full service solutions, and so the next redesign of the website or web maintenance package ends up kind of going over to the SEO company instead of to you who built it. And sometimes these SEO companies are pretty expensive. And so at the end of the day, we end up in this kind of seat where a lot of us haven't solved our customers' need to grow their traffic and sales via SEO, and have tried some of these different avenues. And if we put ourselves in our customers' shoes, SEO can be pretty challenging. A lot of people will say it's too expensive. They've been burned by another SEO. They'll say it's too complicated. They're totally overwhelmed by things like Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Google Tag Manager, Google My Business. Like, how do they keep that all straight? A lot of your customers don't even know where to start, and they don't know who to trust. And at the end of the day, I hope that at the end of today's webinar, you're going to feel that you can overcome all of these challenges with your customer. And I've really highlighted the with, because SEO is collaborative. It's not done in a back office situation. And so it's really that collaborative process where you're acting as their guide, but your customer needs to come alongside and participate along the way. So a couple of reasons why offering SEO services can be really valuable for your clients and for your business. The biggest thing that I've found is it allows us to maintain relationships. So I've been working in our agency side with the same clients for the past 10 years. It's a super relationship driven service offering. And oftentimes those relationships go through the ups and downs. So even when we see potentially a downturn in traffic, like especially related to COVID right now, we're not seeing clients necessarily change their behavior with their investment with us and their commitment to SEO. Instead, we're in this relationship where we're saying, hey, here's what we're seeing, and here's what we expect, and here's how we're evolving with real-time data. And so it's a really relationship-driven service. It allows you to solve a problem, something that I think we all love to do in different capacities is help our customers, help businesses solve problems. It'll make your sales process more competitive. A lot of folks today are looking for more comprehensive offerings. So they have like one point of contact for everything from web design and development to SEO. And so by solving your client's second challenge after they design and build a new website of getting the website found, you're really offering a comprehensive solution. The other thing that you'll probably find is that you're already doing SEO. You're just not getting paid for it. So designers and developers these days are awesome at SEO. They have great, they design things with great user experience. They think about site speed. They collaborate with their clients on content and content development. They install infrastructure like Yoast SEO and different plugins. There are so many things you're already doing for SEO. You're just not getting paid necessarily for that service. And along those lines, because SEO is an ongoing initiative, it's a really easy one to help you build your recurring revenue, which is something that I know if you're part of the GoWP community, you're really focused on in things like web maintenance solutions. So today we're going to break this down into kind of 4 steps. We're going to look at how to package, price, pitch, and then apply process to the delivery of services. Of course, in an hour, I can't teach you 10 years of experience in 1 hour. At the end, we're going to have some resources to pass along to you, including a little bit of more insight into what guided SEO with Pathfinder is, how freelancers and agencies are leveraging our platform to get started with offering SEO services. So step 1 is packaging. Ultimately, we really want to create a model that we're going to follow consistently, because that's what's going to allow us to scale this offering over time. There's a lot of different models for delivering SEO services. You can go straight up hourly. You can offer one-time services. You can offer monthly services, or some kind of a hybrid between one-time and monthly services. And when we look at each one of these, hourly services are really for small definable problems. Examples include creating an XML sitemap or 301 redirects for a website launch. It's just a really definable tiny scope of work. You can estimate how many hours, and you're not responsible for the end results of the entire campaign. You're just responsible for a cog in the wheel. I had somebody inquire today. It's an existing client, and her husband's business needs help with Google Maps. So his Google Maps listing has the wrong address, wrong phone number. He doesn't know how to update it. To me, that's an example of just that quick fix. He doesn't need an SEO solution. He needs a concrete thing. He's an electrician, and he wants his Google Maps business to be tuned up. So that's the kind of thing that I might attack with an hourly offering, because it's essentially quick and dirty. One-time SEO services are project-based approach to solving larger definable projects. Sometimes we invest in one-time SEO services for things like a new website launch. So we say, okay, we'll come alongside the website development and design process, and we'll do SEO that sort of phases alongside with the launch and package that in a one-time manner. But at the end of the day, it's monthly SEO services that ultimately deliver the most value for your customers. This is more of a retainer-based solution. You charge a steady amount every month. And the reason why this tends to be the most successful is because the search engines evolve, and so do your clients' businesses. SEO is really more of a marathon than a sprint. And if you go back to the concept of that one-time project, what I've found over the years is I offered it because it was cost effective and easy for people to sign up for. Pretty low commitment, a couple $1,000s one time, and they're off to the races. But every time a year would pass and I would get an email from the people we offered those one-time services that expressed a little bit of dissatisfaction. They were happy when we finished the project, and they were happy a couple months later. But a year later, they are like, oh, I noticed that my SEO is running behind, or I got this email from another SEO company. I thought you fixed this for us. And it's like, well, we did this work a year ago, but yeah, other people are going to uncover new stones because SEO has evolved, and we're not staying on top of your website on a monthly basis. And so we've really moved away from offering one-time services, because what we really want to do is partner with the client in this long-term initiative, in this marathon, and help them evolve as the industry space evolves. That being said, there is the kind of hybrid style approach where you might do a one-time project to really jumpstart things, followed by a smaller monthly initiative. The reason the hybrid can be great is if you have that project-based need, like we've got a lot to do in conjunction with the site launch, or if your client's just really hot to trot, you're like, okay, don't worry, I can just dive, in a little deeper here over the next month. And then I'm going to transition you to a lower tier of monthly service, so that we're still staying after it, but we don't have to do so with such an aggressive or hand holding. So it's less costly on a monthly basis because you invest more upfront. So we talked about why monthly services, predictable, steady effort, best partnership opportunities. And so what is included in a monthly service? In a monthly service, I essentially include 3 things. Communication, which is really the backbone because this is going to be collaborative. Reporting, because I need to go back to my client and say, these are the results that we're seeing. This is what I did last month. This is what I'm going to do this month. And here's what I need from you. And then action items. And that's all the stuff. This is the what we did component of that. So we lump those into action items, which is the third component of the service. Within our offering, we like to offer 3 tiers of service. We want to give people choices. The lowest level of service, you could call it your good program, we call awareness. And it's really for people just saying, hey, how do I get started with SEO? I want to get going. I know I need SEO. I have some goals, but for the most part, I just want to kind of get in the game. Action is your mid-level plan. And this is really where most people tend to fall if they self-select. And this is for people that are asking, how do I get results? So they're a little bit more engaged and ready to go. And then accelerative is for the people that are like, hey, how do I get next year's results this year? Or, hey, I should have hired you last year, and now I'm sort of in a pickle on the growth side. And the reason it's accelerative is because you're going to move in parallel on action items across a lot of different components of SEO to accelerate their plans faster than maybe you do with action and awareness, where you might be just focusing on one component or 2 components of SEO each month. Like in action, maybe I'm focused on content and technical SEO this month. And then next month, I'm going to have content because I do content every month. And then a little bit of offsite SEO work. So in accelerative, we're just like working in every direction we can to keep really aggressively going after results. The right tier for your client is going to oftentimes depend on their budget. It might depend on where they are in their business cycle, new website, new product launch, new service offerings. It also depends on how competitive the landscape they are, sort of how big of a problem are they starting with. So if you're in a competitive industry space, it's harder to move the needle than in a less competitive, like a local industry space. And ultimately, one of the choices you need to make in the beginning is to give people the ability to change tiers of service and define what those terms will be. So a lot of times when I sign on a new client that doesn't take that hybrid approach, that just dives straight into monthly, I'll say, hey, let's make sure we start at action or accelerative for at least the first 4 to 6 months, because I really want to get through a good amount of work. And then what we can do is just communicate with each other and decide when we should scale back and get you onto more of a maintenance level plan at sort of that awareness level. So sometimes, giving people that flexibility will set your service apart. It maintains the business. They don't just cancel. So that's why we've been working with our clients for so long, is because they don't feel like it's a 12-month contract and it's at a fixed rate and that's it or the highway. They feel like, okay, as long as they give us 30 days notice, they can shift plans, and they do very little of that. Even during changes like COVID, we didn't have a lot of plan changing. But it allows you to come back to your client if you do feel like you get them to a place where you're like, we don't need to be accelerative anymore. We accelerated through those challenges, and what I see ahead is a little bit less involved. And so you can scale back their monthly expense if you need to. You're going to want to define what's included in each of your packages. As I mentioned earlier, I think reporting and communication is really like the bread and butter of all of this. And so reporting is included in all of our plans. Communication, you can define how often you might communicate with them over phone. Obviously, you're going to communicate over email more frequently, but you can define different cadences. Like at awareness, you talk once a quarter about strategy, and accelerative, maybe you even have 2 calls per month. Technical SEO, I personally put in everything because it's the backbone. If the search engines can't crawl and index your client's content, then they can't actually display it. So we include that in everything. And this is really the framework that we break SEO down into, is technical, content, on-site, and off-site. If a client, so technical is included everywhere. On the content side, you might define how much content strategy you're doing versus production versus publishing. So in our lowest plan, we talk strategy, but we put the ball in the client's court to actually produce copy. In action, we might be doing strategy plus updating something ourselves once a month, which means we rewrite it, or we write something to begin with, and then we go ahead and hit the publish button with the client's approval. And then accelerative, maybe you're increasing that cadence to two posts per month. One thing you're going to notice here is I said post or page in the content world. And this is a little just kind of side SEO tip, which is that not everybody has to blog to be successful in SEO. So if you're working with like a dentist's office, I would say, I don't know, as a consumer of, going to the dentist, I don't think I'm going to follow and read my dentist's blog. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not that interested. And it's not going to make a differentiation of which dentist I pick in the beginning. What is going to make that differentiation is to go to their service page and see that they have a practice designed for families, where I can bring both of my kids in at the same time, and then reviews from other people like me that say things like, these guys are awesome. And so your content development for a business like that each month might be working on existing pages and doing things like adding testimonials to the page, or adding more information about a service or a product, adding an FAQ. These are in my mind's eye, almost more critical for so many businesses, and they often get overlooked to just get into that like, hey, we're going to blog and blog and blog. And ultimately, bigger national audiences, more competitive spaces, yes, the blog is critical, but smaller spaces, don't neglect the more immediate content needs, which are usually getting back into existing pages on a website. On-site optimization, this is things like page titles and meta descriptions, updating alternative text, adding internal links between pages. I consider this to be kind of a must-do at every level. Some people will define how deep they go here. So they'll say, like, my awareness package, I focus on the top 10 pages, action, the top 20, accelerative, the top 30. I don't actually take that approach. We rotate through working on-site optimization. And so I'm going to keep going as deep as I can into a website over time. So maybe I work on-site optimization once a quarter for a client. And so every time I'm coming in and I'm adding and updating more page titles and meta descriptions. But I'm not fixed on, if a client's been working with me on awareness for 10 years, then I've probably touched every page on their website, just slowly over time. Offsite SEO, this is things like link building, getting your Google Maps listings set up, and focusing on local search. And here you can go again from that kind of trajectory of strategy on one end to a lot of execution on the other. So we have a worksheet I should mention, and at the end of this, I'll share access with you guys to go through and do this worksheet. It lets you go through your packaging, essentially. What are you going to call your 3 tiers of service? And then within each tier, sort of what are you going to include? So pretty simple stuff, but just to help make sure that you really do take the time to get consistent with your packaging, which makes pricing a heck of a lot easier. When it comes to pricing, the simplest way to think about pricing and where most people start is just hourly. So they package their work and say awareness is 5 hours, action is 10, and accelerative is 20 hours per month. They already know their hourly rate, and so they do some multiplication, and there they have their packaging pricing. It also gives you a sense of how much time you would invest to deliver value. So at awareness, you're probably spending an hour on kind of communication and project management, an hour on reporting, and then 3 hours on action items. And as you move up to the bigger packages, you can see you have more time for action items. So you can do more each month because you have more time allotted. But at the end of the day, what we're all really trying to get to is a place where we're pricing our value and not just our hours. And so there's a lot of places where I think your value to the customer exceeds your hourly rate when it comes to SEO. Some of that might come with your experience with SEO or your experience in a specific industry. So if you work with dentists, like we just mentioned, like marketing for dentists. So you're going to accelerate through things like keyword research for your client so quickly because you already kind of know the formula. And so that's something you want to call out to the client is like, hey, I specialize in your industry space, or I specialize in, WordPress SEO or whatever your specialty might be, because that's where your value exceeds your hourly rate. The other place where your value exceeds your hourly rate is that you already know their business, their audience, and their website. I can't tell you how many third-party SEO companies will do keyword research and even start blogging and do stuff for months without understanding the client's audience, and they miss the boat. They get the wrong keyword space, they go down the wrong avenue with content development, and a year later, your client's like, I think our traffic has increased, but we haven't gotten any new sales. I saw this once for a conference center out in California, and they were trying to attract people that were searching for things like conference center in California or resort conference setting in California, things like, I want to host an event in California at a really woodsy and outdoorsy cabin-like place. But this SEO company found that there was a lot of opportunity within a specific area, and they just did really well for the name of the lake that the conference center was on. So they could get a ton of traffic because everybody was searching for this lake and nobody else online had content around it. Well, that's great. Their visibility was way up. Their traffic was way up for this one keyword space. And so they were getting these reports saying we're doing awesome, but then the business felt like, but wait, we're not actually we're not getting any leads. Why isn't anyone completing our contact form? Is it broken? And the issue wasn't volume, it was audience, and it was who we were targeting with that content. And that's where the miss was. So you are not going to make that mistake because you've already gotten to know the client's audience. You've built their website. You've asked them probing questions, and you're not just skipping into a keyword research tool and getting down and dirty in that back office SEO setting. You also have the ability to determine what's going to have the most impact and then to follow through with action. I can't tell you enough how many SEOs don't follow through with action. So you can look at a website with very, early SEO skills and be able to say, okay, this page, I think it needs a design update. Look, it has a paragraph of content. That is going to be hugely impactful for your client, much more so than say, a small technical SEO task or fixing broken links or something on their website. And then your value comes from the process you bring. And so we're going to get into what that process looks like. Ultimately, the right price is going to depend on the industry space when we take this value-based pricing. So this is another way to look at pricing. It's a little more mature as we move away from hourly and into value. But oftentimes I'll package people based on how much effort it's going to take to move the needle. So a local business, they're in a low competition, low spend space, whereas an insurance company would be in a highly competitive, high ad spend space. Travel might be a little bit of a mixed bag, right? So if you're working with a local hotel or something, yes, there's big players. There are the VRBOs and Airbnbs and TripAdvisors, but there's also a lot of opportunity because Google does want to feature some physical businesses that are in that location and highlight them in the search results. So there is opportunity. So this is another way you can put together a pricing model, and you can see it's not directly tied to hours. It's just tied to a monthly cost. At the end of the day, your pricing needs to be less than your value. So your prospect just needs to feel that your value exceeds your pricing. They need to understand that value that you're going to bring to the table. And that's where we get into the pitch process. I'm going to give you 4 tips on pitching SEO services that really are designed to set you apart. The first is to ask the right questions. So we always start with a discovery call. Any kind of reasonable lead that comes in, I'm willing to jump on the phone for 15 minutes and chat. And in that call, I'm going to ask 2 questions and try to listen. And the first is, how have you approached SEO in the past? When you ask this question, you're going to hear a lot from your customer about how important it is, how much they value it, what their experience is, what their pains have been, their expectations, and who's on their team. So you can get so much unpacked out of this one simple question by just letting your prospect chat here. I had a sales call once, and I just started with this, and the person's response to me was like, I can't wait to get started with SEO with your company. I'm like, what's SEO? And I just was scratching my head. I was like, maybe it's like a service or something they offer. And I'm looking on their website and I'm like, okay, I don't know, I'll just keep moving. I kind of kept asking questions and SEO kept popping back up. I'm like, okay, that's SEO. So this person's a beginner, no big deal, but that's what I needed to know. And so by just listening, you can hear where people are in their journey with SEO. You can see what their pains have been. Have they been burned by another company? What's happening? You can see what their expectations are. And if you're going to need to realign those in the sales process so that they don't sign up and then you're like, oh, no, we can't be number 1 for that keyword. So you're going to see what sort of their expectations are. And then you're going to understand who you'd be working with, who are you going to collaborate, because the people part is really important. The next question I ask is, what would your business look like if Google sent you twice as much traffic as they do today? And this is really to move people from selling SEO to selling the destination. So when I first got started with SEO, and I still do it today, I see all of the red flags so quickly when I look at someone's website. I'm like, oh, their page title on their homepage says home. Oh my gosh, their site loads so slowly. I can just go on and on and on. And so my inclination in a sales meeting is to go there and be like, look at this over here. Hey, this needs a fix. And that's not really the why a business is hiring me. And so what I want to really do with this question is move from that idea of selling the SEO product to selling the destination. So if it's that dentist office, maybe he needs new patients. He's trying to bring on another partner and wants to keep that partner busy. And so right now they don't have enough patients to do so. And so to be able to bring on this new partner and for him to take more vacation, he needs more patients. And so you're like, okay, I get it. And that's why the person's hiring you. And that's what you're going to want to call out in your proposals and in your conversations, because they're not actually hiring you for more traffic or more leads. They're hiring you for this destination downstream. Tip number 2, don't sell SEO, sell the business future. So this is the big piece of it. And that's what we've really covered. The next big one is avoid industry jargon. So when you start with a discovery call, it's really easy to slip into words like this. Even using the word SEO can be overwhelming for a client. They may not know the definition. Using things like headers, link building, XML sitemap, 404 page, this is a strategy to sell SEO via like an overwhelming sense. So someone hires you just because they're like, oh, geez, I could never do this. And that's not really how we want our partnerships to begin. We want our partnerships to begin with really clear communication. And so what I try to do is figure out how to communicate better is usually to take out the jargon. So instead of saying SEO 100 times in a sales call, I might say, hey, let me help you get your business found on Google. So that's how I usually start a conversation. When someone says, what do you do? I say, I help businesses get found on Google, period. And then I let them say, oh, do you do that SEO? Oh, yeah, okay, I've heard of that. Another one is XML sitemap. Whenever I talk about this, particular file or task I might do, like, hey, we're going to build a resume for your website. It just makes it really easy for Google to get a top level view of how we want them to crawl and explore and ultimately index your website's content. And they're like, okay, I understand a resume. Instead of talking SEO speak and saying, hey, we're trying to get featured snippet results, you can say, hey, did you know you could get above #1 on Google? Let me show you this really cool thing. And I think we could do this with improving or evolving our content strategy. The last piece is setting expectations. So in the sales process, this is when we want to really dial in people's expectations, both for what they should expect out of the sales process, but then also what they should expect for results. So when I'm in these discovery calls, I try to be very clear with when the prospect is going to hear from me next. Am I going to turn a proposal around in a day, a week, a month? And then obviously I need to follow through on the timeline that I provide. I let the client, if I need them to do something next, like, do I want access to their Google Analytics before I put a proposal together? And then I also make sure that they have a sense of my price range. I want to make sure that a proposal is even worth my time and effort. So if I say, hey, we have packages that start at this and go to here, and I think you should be somewhere in the middle, that sets the stage for them to be anchored to price. And to know if this is really still a valuable, prospect for your business. In this call, I also like to set expectations around results. So when will the prospect start to see results? Is your desired keyword space kind of even reasonable? Or are we going to have sort of a phased approach? Like, we're going to be able to get some low-hanging fruit here and solve these problems first. And then we're going to start working towards these reachier keywords. And that's really important dynamic for people to understand. And then also, how do you work? So are you a team? Who's going to be the point of contact? And do you do all your work in-house, or do you outsource it? These are questions you might get asked in the sales process. And sometimes it's helpful to just let people know in advance, hey, here's how I work. Here's a little bit of what the process looks like. When you're writing a proposal, you really shouldn't include any new information in the proposal. It basically just details that initial discovery call conversation. So your client should already know you have multiple tiers of service. Your client should already have a sense that SEO is long-term and that you're proposing an ongoing engagement. These are the things your client should understand, your prospect, that you're going to deliver every month a report, communication, and action items. This should all be just kind of like easy, and that makes it easy for someone to scan your proposal and sign the agreement. Oops, I think I skipped one. So in my proposal, I just take a three-phased approach. First, in a little intro note, I define the problem. Where's the prospect today? What's their biggest pain or problem? And then I remind them of that business future. So that's a short little note. Sometimes I put that same note in the email. And that just documents, I listened, I heard what your problem was, I heard what your goal is, I get it. Approach, this is where I talk a lot about holistic SEO and how we're going to approach these 4 different pillars of SEO. We talked very briefly about technical, content, on-site, and off-site, how our approach is going to really try to level the playing field in all of those areas. I talk about how our approach is a monthly investment with tiers of service. And then I put a plan, and the plan piece, I like to define the specific action items that I'm going to complete during the first 3 months of service. But I don't go beyond that, because then the plan gets a little dynamic. So I say, okay, the first month is all about the getting started stuff, the setting up analytics, the doing keyword research, the getting the Google Search Console going. And then I'm going to talk to you and let you know what I found. The second month might be all about content strategy. So you're like, I'm going to think all about how I'm going to apply that keyword research and make a content plan. So again, clients have seen 0 results, right? We're in month 2 and we've actually done nothing on the site to do results. In month 3, that could be where you're like, all right, I'm going to dial in page titles and meta descriptions, update alt text, configure the Yoast SEO plugin. I'm going to, update the XML sitemap, respond to page not found errors. Okay, now we're getting hands-on. So maybe you'll see a little lift in month 4. And then month 4, maybe you're moving into your offsite SEO tasks. So I'll lay out just a brief bit of that plan. But what I try to explain to the client is that this is dynamic for a purpose. And the purpose is, as we find areas of impact, we want to go there. So if I find I can have more impact this month by focusing on Google Maps and local search for the client, that's where they want me to head. And that, to communicate that, I always put the plan in the email that goes out with the report that says, this is what I did and this is what I'm gonna do. And that's their FYI. If you don't like where I'm heading, like, speak up now. And so that's why I only document the beginning of what we're going to do, the action items, in the proposal. In the plan, I also just like to let them know how they're going to feel comfortable with knowing that we're not just one of those SEO companies that charges a retainer and does nothing. So now we're into the last phase of getting started here, and that's process. How are you going to deliver the service consistently to your clients? And we followed this model: communication, reporting, and action. And ultimately, our process has 3 phases. The first phase is onboarding. I think this is the most critical component of SEO, because this is where your client gets reassured that they hired the right agency to be their partner. Then we're going to focus on those foundational tasks. This is the stuff that's not terribly exciting: the getting Google Analytics set up, optimizing page titles and meta descriptions, those tasks. And then the phase that I enjoy the most personally is that continual evolution. And this is where you're going back to your client every month and saying, hey, I noticed this in the results, and so I did this. Or in the industry space, FAQ content is really taking off. And so let's get going on investing in FAQ content over the next 3 months and try to level up in this area. Right now, we're really working with our clients to continually evolve in something that's not directly SEO, but man, do they feel happy that we're solving it for them, which is Google Analytics 4, the new version of Google Analytics, helping people understand what they need to be doing there and how to think about this pretty sizable change. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. Our SEO agency and our marketing agency is covering something that's impacting everything we do, not just SEO. So when we're onboarding clients, there's kind of a couple components. The first is getting access or setting up portals, analytics, my business, search console, and then website. The next is communication. I want to make sure we communicate and I really understand your audience. If you have been working with a client for years and you're like, ooh, maybe I don't understand their audience that well, this is a really easy time to go back and say, hey, guess what? I know we've been working together forever and I understand your audience really well. I'd love to hear it from you one more time before we start this next service. And it's a little cheat to get back in and be like, okay, I remember them talking about this and I kind of got it, but sometimes, you know, people have pretty complicated business models and you might need a refresher. We want to reaffirm expectations here. And provide a little education. You know, we talk a lot about these 4 pillars of SEO. This is where I spend some time and I actually help my clients understand what those 4 pillars are all about in this onboarding process. And then there's the business management side, setting up invoicing, making sure you have a signed contract, all the things to make sure you have a true business agreement. Now I skipped too fast. Okay, then the foundational tasks, these are a lot of the things that we'll work with clients to do that help me feel like we hit a foundational level. This can take, if you're spreading it out over time, it may take you 3 to 6 months to get through all of your foundational work. Just depends on where the client's starting and how big their website is and how competitive. I mean, keyword research can range from taking me, you know, a half hour for a client to being like a 20-hour project if somebody has a really complicated you know, huge opportunity space. And then we start to evolve. And this means staying up to date with algorithm changes, new tactics in the industry, the search engine layout changes, like the blocks of where things are, paid ads versus things move around. You can go deeper in anything. So you can go into structured data and schema. You can get into things like FAQ content. You can help people with ongoing blogging. Maybe you're helping them recategorize and re-update like the tagging structure if they've been blogging a long time. You might go deeper on speed. So this is part of the evolution process. And then results, we're always looking to look at results and then respond to them. So you might find new keyword spaces that you didn't expect. And then you're like, hey, we could build on this success and go in this direction. At the end of the day, the process piece is probably always the hardest for people to follow or to create. And it's a little bit of trial and error. And so at Pathfinder SEO, we built basically like an SEO business in a box solution for freelancers and agencies. And we call it Guided SEO. And what it boils down to is we provide you our process. So an SEO checklist that has 12 steps broken down into a series of easy to complete tasks. Makes it easy to just dive in incrementally into somebody's SEO, into your client's SEO, or to have a junior member on your team be able to do it without you having to train them and hold their hand along the way. Then you move into ongoing SEO. And this is how do you actually think about those little tasks that, hey, we need to upgrade to Google Analytics 4, or how do we add FAQ content, or how do we think about tags and categories on a blog? Those are all ongoing tasks. So we provide our process. We provide a tool set, keyword research, rank tracking, and monthly reporting to make it so that you can get everything under one roof and white label those monthly reports, of course. And then resources. Perhaps the biggest reason people sign up for Guided SEO is the one-on-one coaching. So you have a designated coach that you can meet with monthly to review client accounts, business processes, whatever is really pressing for you. And this is where that confidence really builds. It's in talking through the art and science with somebody who's already been there and done that, that allows you to be like, yep, okay, I had the right plan for this client that had this domain change that was worrying me. And then over here, okay, I have this right plan for this client who I really think needs to blog, but they don't want to blog, and I don't know how hard to push them. That's what coaching is all about. And then we also provide a lot of business resources and templates. SEO sales proposal templates, onboarding checklists, email templates, everything so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can follow along with the process we've developed over the last 10 years. And so if you go over to pathfinderseo.com and then webinar-GoWP, we can drop that in the chats. You'll have a couple of resources there. One is a coupon for 50% off your first 3 months of Pathfinder. That's good through the end of December, the end of this year. You'll get free access to 45 email templates. Don't worry, it's not 45 documents. It's one Google Doc. You click the link, you make a copy, it's yours. And it's kind of a playbook. You can see, how do we communicate with our clients in all of these different scenarios and all of these different phases. That packaging worksheet, you can check that out. And then today's slide deck. So lots of resources there. And then plenty of time now to answer questions and make this more of a conversation and less of my monologue.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. That was awesome. I was just commenting. I sent a comment in the Facebook group that this webinar, it's truly like a step-by-step process on productizing SEO for your agency. That was so valuable. I think a lot of people will be bookmarking this recording once we send it out and checking it out and using it, because I know we've gotten a few comments from folks saying that they're setting up SEO for their agency this coming year. A lot of people are, reevaluating their services and their packages. It's that time of year, figuring out, what to do in the new year and how they can help their clients more. And SEO is awesome. Huge. So this has been super valuable. So thank you for sharing so much of your knowledge and experience with everybody here. That was really great. I have not seen too many questions come in, but let's bring them in. So here's one question that just came in. If we start with the one website and decide to upgrade to the 10 website plan before the end of December, will the coupon apply to the upgrade or only initial purchase? So that's regarding the discount code that you've got here for webinar registrants.
Yeah, so the discount code, you can change plans in that 3-month window and it'll keep applying. So you can start with one website and a month later upgrade to the 10 website plan. And you'll still get 50% off in that second and third month. And then the 4th month, whatever plan you're on, that's where it'll go back to the 100%.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. We did get quite a few comments in the Facebook group too. So a lot of people really just, your messaging resonates with them. So they've been doing SEO and not charging for it for years, or, who knows how long. So that's something that people are definitely identifying with. And then also
we've all been there.
Yeah. And then just the fact that SEO, it is a collaborative effort, and like your tiers kind of illustrate that, depending on, how much clients are willing to invest either monetarily or their time, it's got to be one or the other, right? So
it does. And so the couple things that we kind of manage there is when clients come back to us and say, we can't afford your service, we like to, and we want to work with them. We're like, okay, well, we're not going to just discount our service. What we're going to do is tell you, okay, great. Let's treat this as more of a collaboration. If you can be the elbow grease, I can be the guide, and you can be the one really creating content and reaching out for links. And I can coach you through all of this and make it really easy for you. And provide that monthly reporting and do a little bit of like action items every month. But that lower level plan can go far if the client wants to collaborate. That low level plan doesn't go very far if the client's like, okay, I'm hiring you, that's it, and I'm not doing anything, because then you're not getting content production. So that's one piece. The other thing is, I should note that guided SEO actually works really well for site owners as well. So business owners, and that was part of why we built it too, is a lot of people would say, hey, I can't afford your service. I still have this problem. I need to get found on Google. What do I do? And we're like, okay, we did hey, we'll install Yoast for you. And you should go follow the Moz blog and the Yoast blog and take this course. And then a year later, they'd pop back in and say, okay, now we can hire you. We're so overwhelmed. We accomplished nothing. We invested all this time. And so that's where you can actually become an affiliate of Pathfinder, refer your clients that are in that camp, and then we'll give them the process, we'll give them the coaching, and they'll be in that lower level one website plan, and they can take their own guided approach, sort of like signing up for a gym membership with a personal trainer.
Awesome. I love that. And we did have one person ask, do you offer white labeling or affiliates? So we've affiliates, yes, and white labeling too, right? You did mention that the reports and all of that can be white labeled.
Yeah, so the reports are white labeled, and you can, in the mid-level and higher plans, you can put your own logo and own color palette, and then you can export those as PDFs as you get them. You get them via email, little web page, and so you can make Pathfinder like totally behind the scenes. But it's not white labeled in the way that you would give your client a login that's like youragency.com, /SEO or something. We may go down the road, but right now the demand hasn't been that high.
Cool. Great. Yeah. Another question. So this is kind of going into the coaching realm. So if a potential client, a new potential client has had their site for years and it's doing just fine, in their words, how do you respond to folks like that?
So I'm a terrible salesperson. I've been told this many a times. And so when people say that to me, I'm like, okay, great. I'll go talk to another client that has demand for my service. So that's my honest truth, is that like, usually I don't pitch SEO that hard for people. If they don't have pain, then I don't try to solve their pain. They're like, I'm doing just fine. Okay, great. You're doing just fine. If you want to poke and create some pain, you can create, I think little videos are a really great way to communicate right now with clients in tiny little segments. And I use them all the time now. So instead of asking for a meeting, and maybe you're just sending them an end of the year, like, hey, what's going on email, you can record a 4-minute video of you using something like Loom with their website, maybe with a Google window open. And this is just you chatting at them essentially, because it's a one-way conversation. But this is where you can poke some pain and be like, hey, here's the things that I'm really excited we accomplished this year. Your new site's fast. These pages have some really great content on them. And I'm really proud that this has happened. And I love that we've worked together. When I look ahead at next year and look about a growth plan for you, I see a couple opportunities. I noticed your Google Maps listing isn't up to date. Let me show you this. And hey, I noticed this keyword, you really should be in like the top 3 for it. And you guys are on the beginning of page 2. There could be a lot of opportunity in just moving you to page 1. And I noticed there was this page that you said you were going to help us create, when we launched your website. We didn't get to it. And look, it's really like, it doesn't have enough content. So in a short little one-way conversation, you might be able to poke at some pain for those types of clients.
Those are some great ideas. And I know that, speaking to the pain points is a great approach to go to, and then providing the solution, of course, which is what you would be doing. So that's fantastic. I'm seeing just a lot of comments about people saying this has been really great. Thank you. Fantastic webinar. Some folks are going to be reaching out to you personally, Lindsay. So I feel like I'm on a QVC like shopping show right now, where it's like, all right, we're sold out, go home.
Thanks. That's always a good problem. Like I said, I'm a terrible salesperson. So if I have the opposite effect, maybe something.
It's kind of the anti-sales. It's just you're giving away your knowledge and your experience, and people want to pay you for it. So there you go. This has been a great webinar though. I mean, I loved so much about it. There's so much great information. I'm excited that people also found it useful and helpful. So just so everyone, to remind you, if you didn't hear at the beginning, the recording is available basically immediately after this in the Facebook group. And that's the Niche Agency Owners Facebook group. I'll also be sending out a link to the recording to everybody who registered via the GoWP website there. So you'll get a link to the recording there, and it will be available in the webinar archive on our site. And we'll include all the links that we discussed here and links to the follow-up page with the discount and all of that too. So if anyone has any more questions, now would be the time. And I don't see any more coming in. So Lindsay, thank you so much. This has been so great, and we really appreciate it. So have a great day, and we hope to see you soon. And again, Lindsay's in the group. So if you come up with a question later, just tag her in there, and I'm sure she'd be happy to help out.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. See you all later. Bye.
Bye.